What's up, YouTube? What's going on? We're going to touch up on a couple things today. Today's episode of A Life and Story of KareemHicks is going to be a special one. The reason it's going to be a special one is because we got a couple things to touch bases on. I appreciate everybody for all the love, all the support. Been so many people reposting and doing stuff like that. So, I greatly appreciate everything that been going on. To all the people that send me praise and different stuff like that, I appreciate you as well. Just keep following. Please subscribe to the channel at Big OSA 103. The story of KareemHicks. You can look it up anywhere on YouTube. You'll definitely be able to see it. So, that won't even really be no thing. So we all be able to figure that out. Now, back to the story. The last time I left off with you guys, we stopped where my Aunt Bobby had dropped me off at my grandmother's house. Now, when my Aunt Bobby dropped me off at my grandmother's house, of course, again, she never told my grandmother that was her plan to drop me off. I just always felt like she was, always, all my life, I felt like she felt like I took advantage of her daughter, or either she knew about it and she ain't want to say nothing to nobody. So I feel like she kind of like held that resentment in against me. So I feel like she just like kind of like gave me away type shit. She already knew that she was responsible for me at the time, and my mother was depending on her to keep me. But obviously she had other plans. She decided not to keep me. She gave me back to my grandmother. Now, for me, I don't really got no issues with that today, but we did talk about it a few times, and as you know, that is a fucked up thing to do, but that was just another situation in my life. Now, I already stayed back in Cook School like 2 years, like not from like being smart, not like that, but just literally from attendance. So finally, when my Bobby got me to school in Hackensack, I was able to lock in. I got honor roll every semester once I was able to get locked in, and then I was able to pass the first grade. Now, once I got sent back to my grandmother's house, I was back with my brother. I was happy. I was now outside. Now, I think that was like 89, because I was like 9 years old. I'll be 45 this year, so every year the year changes, my birthday changes. So I want to say that was like 89. Now, this is a pivotal year for me, because it was like a year that the direction of my life changed. The trajectory went from up to like down. Of course, I didn't know that, but that's just based on what I saw from now. Not because of like my living situation or like that. It was just like my surrounding. So once I got sent back to my grandmother's house, of course, I was now back on 79 Mapes. I was back in Newark. I was back in the hood. But I was happy to be in the hood. But also, it was a lot that came with that. Now, I went to the second grade. That was, I went back to Peshine. That was Miss Marshall. Second grade was Miss Marshall class. I never forget that first year, because that first year was like a big change in my life for everything. I met a lot of my lifetime friends that I have to this day that year. I really met almost everybody that I know to this day that year. That was like 89. That's the year that I remember. I was now 9 years old when I got back into the hood, and life was just different. So once I got back into the hood that year, I was like a lot more advanced, a lot smarter, a lot more polished than everybody else. I had already been in the hood and living like in the upper scale parts of New Jersey. So for me personally, I was like a little more advanced. I had a little more edge on everybody. Uh, People expected a little more from me. So I just had that little part to live up to. And it helped me out a lot in life because it just definitely gave me an edge, I would say, later on in life. Now, that year I went to Peshawn. I was in Miss Marshall class. I met a lot of my lifetime. I met Leon was in my class that year. Marcus was in my class that year. Jesus was in my class that year. And Terrell was in my class that year. For everybody that I said, of course, y'all know who y'all are. Y'all are all great people in my life. I don't talk to all of you guys every day, but I love all you guys to the utmost because y'all are part of my story for my life. But I would say I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I wish the best to all y'all. So once I got in Miss Marshall class, I met Tyrell, who became a best friend of mine for a long time. Jesus became a best friend of mine. And I met Leon and Marcus, but they weren't my best friends at the time. They was actually more like foes or like enemies. Like they was like bullies. Like so like Marcus and Leon was two bullies that was already at the school when I came back to the school. So when I met Terrell, I actually met Terrell because Leon and Marcus used to pick on him. So, you know, me being myself, once I got back to North, that summer was a strong summer for me. That summer was the first summer that I actually started like dabbling in like hustling. I started like selling drugs that year. I also started smoking that year. And I started having like sex like on a normal basis that year. That's why I said like once I got back like to North, for me it was like crazy. Once I got back into that environment, it was nothing but, you know, drug vials, junkies, alcoholics, addicts, pushers, drug dealers. That's all I know. That's all I knew from that time forward. Now, of course, before the 90s, before even the late 80s, times was better where it wasn't so much crack infestation and different shit like that. But by the time I got back home in 89, the crack epidemic was like in full force, like 100%. We couldn't even debate it. It was everywhere. I was blessed for my grandmother to obviously have a great job. My grandmother worked for General Motors. So she was blessed to have a great job paying for all of us. Because I think my grandmother had, I don't want to say how many kids she had because I think it's either my grandmother Lydia, which is my father's mother. I think she had either 11 or 14, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say 11 or 14, but I ain't sure. I gotta check that. I'm gonna actually ask my grandmother how many kids. I want to say either 11 or 14 kids. So back to that. I'm sorry to get off of the subject, but back to the story at hand. Like, I was blessed to have a grandmother, but like she couldn't stop the fact that she had to go to work. So like, of course, like we would be outside ripping and running. When I got back to the house, when I got back there, my grandmother already had control or took responsibility for watching basically all of her kids, grandkids at that time. So my grandmother had my Auntie Vaughn kids. She had Lori, Stacy, Audrey, Yvonne, Aunt Diane, from what I remember. But out of all of those girls that she had, she already was keeping my Auntie Vaughn kids, which was Narik and Radik, because obviously by this time my Auntie Vaughn was already strung out. But that's a different story. So my grandmother was already keeping her kids, which were Narik and Radik. That was my other two cousins at the time. So once I moved back to the house, my grandma had already notified the courts that she had now had full custody of me, my brother Kawan, my cousin Narik, and my cousin Radik. Once my grandmother got full custody, she adopted all of us legally so that we all would never have to break up again. So we all were legally adopted and became brothers. Once my grandmother adopted us and became brothers, it became easier for her to be able to, like, you know, manage us and take care of us because we were now all her sons. So then she picked up 4 more kids, which was me and my brother Kawan and Narik and Radik. That year, 89, again, was a super crazy year. The crap epidemic was crazy. So now my grandmother was working. She had my aunt Stacy and my aunt Lori watching us like most of the time whenever they wasn't working. Everybody else was either gone or working. So my aunt Stacy like watched us every day, either when she came home or whether she at work, or either my aunt Lori. My grandmother had 4 boys. She had my Uncle Ty, my father, Samad, my Uncle Keith, and my Uncle Derek. Out of the 4 boys, my Uncle Keith had 2 girls. My father had 2 boys. My Uncle Derek never had kids. My Uncle Tyrone, I believe, had 2 kids. So that was all her grandkids from them. But anyway, back to the story. So now I'm back in the city of Newark, running around. Now I'm with 2 more of my brothers now, because now my cousins, who my grandmother adopted along with me, now became my brothers. So now it's me back in the city with 4 brothers now instead of 1. So now it's me, Narik, Radik, and Kawan. So I'm running around. That summer was a crazy summer because that was the first summer that I actually started selling drugs. I started out like, you know, trying to buy like a little ounce of weed, a little half ounce of weed. Mind you, at this time, an ounce of weed is only like, I think like $30 or $40. It was like 60 for some people, but I was able to get it for like 40 because you know, my father already had knew everybody. He was already a big name in the city, but he was of course now locked up. So a lot of people did favors for me, like solely because of my father and who he was. So I started selling weed, like sitting on my grandmother's porch, watching people walk by. People already sold weed out there, so obviously people was already out there looking for weed. So I would like sneak on the porch and sell you know, little nickel bag. I would buy ounces of weed, bag up nickel bags of weed, you know, and sell shit like that. Um, lo and behold, my life got different for me once I met a couple people. I met one guy. We ain't gonna put no names out there, but I met this one guy who uh, I guess I would say trusted at the time, and he was the one who actually introduced me into selling crack. I think he took a liking to me because he already seen me, like, you know, uh, trying to hustle a little weed or whatever, or shake and bake or whatever like that. So I guess he took a liking to me, and plus he already knew where my grandmother porch was at, which was a good place for I guess hustling or whatever. So um he offered me my first pack. Taking my first pack was a little different. My first pack was a 250 pack. It was a 100 pack for $250. It was a pack of nickels, and I would sell a pack of nickels for $250. I would keep $50, and I would give him $200. Whenever it was like any shorts, as long as it really wasn't too many shorts, he actually took the shorts and let me still keep my $50. So that was cool. And that's literally how I was introduced into like hustling and everything. I'd never forget that day, because that day was another day that was different and detrimental to me. So we're gonna stop right there with me just starting to hustle for the first time, just starting to shake and bake. That's when my life changed. That's when my life got different. Now, I'm gonna touch bases on this because the more to the story is, right now, is that even though this said person was the person that introduced me into hustling and different things like that, I really don't blame him for introducing me to it, because I was intrigued and I was interested, and at the time I didn't have no money, so like, you know, I wanted money for like candy and different shit like that to go to school. Like, you know, like I just wanted to help out. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like I couldn't work yet, obviously, because I'm only 9. But I just seen that, well, I noticed that people needed help. People needed money. And I just felt like that I could be able to be the one that helped them. My grandmother, my aunts included, my uncles, like most of them, some of them were strung out already, so, you know, they would try to ask you for money or different things like that. And, you know, I just tried to figure out ways of helping around the house and different stuff like that. So, honestly speaking, I wouldn't wish that on nobody. I don't wish for nobody to sell drugs. Obviously, I am a product of my environment, but in 1989, it really wasn't nothing else to do but sell drugs. It's nothing like today. I don't wish anybody to sell drugs. I don't wish anybody to go through anything like that. If you're in a situation that's presented itself to you the same way that mine was, I would absolutely tell you to say no. Do not do drugs. Do not sell drugs. I can't say that it was forced upon me, but it was the only thing that I saw. So I just seen it as like being the way to help. That was it. And that was the wrong way to look at it. So if I ever had it to make a choice today again, I would absolutely not sell drugs. I would absolutely not even go that way. I would just get a job or go to the army and never think about touching drugs ever. So that's just the moral to the story, and I wish that other people like me will be able to step up and be like, just not make that choice. If you ain't got to make that choice and you ain't got to be that, then don't be that. All right? Also, I'm also an author of this book, The City, also by KareemHicks. I got 4 books that I wrote like this. I'm going to re-release book 1 with a different page, different cover, a whole lot of different stuff. We got a whole lot of different plans. Obviously, y'all know the podcast. Obviously, y'all know, please like, share, subscribe, follow the channel at Big OSA 103 on YouTube. The story, KareemHicks. You can also follow that. And I appreciate all y'all. Y'all have a blessed day. And I wish y'all the best.